Welcome to episode 5 of our Pale Court Charm Deep Dive, featuring Abyssal Bloom. Before we get started, just a quick reminder. To gain access to these charms, just make sure you've beaten the dream version of Dung Defender, who is located right here. With that out of the way, let's jump into it. Abyssal Bloom. This charm costs 5 notches and causes the knight to gain power for every mask of life lost. Abyssal Bloom can be found at the end of the Abyss Jumping puzzle. This is a new area, added with Pale Court, and can be found through a breakable wall right here. This is a bit tricky and will take some patience to get through, however just keep in mind it's a lot shorter than Path of Pain, so don't give up. The charms I used to complete this was Dash Master, which is mandatory as you need to be able to do downward dashes, as well as Grubson and Grubberfly's Elegy for extra soul when taking damage, and then Deep Focus for even more healing efficiency. This gave me unlimited attempts regardless of soul totems. Other viable options include Long Nail or Quick Slash to make pogoing on spikes that bit easier, although it is balanced in a way that normal attack speed and nail range work just fine. It's just a few segments with the default range are pretty tight, and pogoing even slightly late or slightly early can result in death. But if even I managed to beat it in around 2 hours, I'm sure the majority of you guys will be just fine. Abyssal Bloom boosts nail damage by 6.25% for every mask currently missing, rounded to the nearest whole number. This only counts masks that are currently missing, meaning that any healing will result in less damage. I call this the Stage 1 buff. Stage 2 of the buff starts when you reach half health. You'll know when it's active as your nail strikes will turn black. Stage 2 comes with a few extra bonuses. For starters, you'll receive a 10% boost to your move speed, which can stack multiplicably with Sprint Master. You'll also receive a 10% cooldown reduction to both your standard dash and Shade Cloak dash. The standard dash cooldown will go from 0.6 seconds to 0.54 seconds, and the Shade Cloak dash will go from 1.5 seconds to 1.36 seconds. And finally, Stage 3 will trigger when you have 1 mask remaining. The knight will now transform into their Shade form when attacking, gaining 75% bonus range, and multiplying their current damage boost by 1.5. This means instead of each missing mask being worth 6.25% damage each, they'll be worth 9.37% each, at least before rounding. But there's more! All Stage 2 bonuses will be doubled, meaning you'll be getting a 20% speed boost and a 20% cooldown reduction for Dash and Shade Cloak, which will now be at 0.5 seconds for standard dashing and 1.25 seconds for Shade Cloak dash. That's the basics, but let's take a look at the numbers in a bit more detail. I said you gain 6.25% bonus damage per missing mask, but due to how the rounding works, it ends up looking a bit different in reality. On this table, we can see the actual damage numbers at each amount of masks, of course with a pure nail. As you can see, we surpass Unbreakable Strength only at 8 masks lost, and it also spikes here as the Stage 3 buff triggers, multiplying what would normally be a bonus damage of 11 into 16, for a total of 37 damage. Now this table can be altered if we add in Unbreakable Heart, which adds 2 masks to the equation. Now if we do this, we'll exactly match the damage of Unbreakable Strength at 8 masks lost. However, since we still have 2 masks left, the Stage 3 buff triggers later at 10 masks lost. And since the more masks we lose before hitting Stage 3, the more of a damage boost we get, this makes the 1.5 times multiplier pay off even more, reaching 20 bonus damage for a total of 41 damage, 95% more than base, and nearly twice as powerful as Unbreakable Strength. But similar to Shaman Stone and Boon of Hallownest, there's no need to pit these 2 charms against each other when they work so well as a team. That's because you don't get diminishing returns when stacking these 2 charms, the opposite in fact. Bloom and Strength stack multiplicably, meaning they feed off each other for even more damage. For example, say we're at 8 missing masks at the Stage 3 buff with Strength and Abyssal Bloom equipped. Bloom will be boosting damage by 75%, and of course, Strength by its usual 50%. 50 plus 75 should make 125 extra damage, which would take our pure nail to 47 damage after rounding. However, in reality, we're actually hitting for 56 damage, which is 166% more than base. That's around 40% extra damage being generated, almost a whole strength charm worth. The reason for this is how the damage is calculated. First up, the strength boost is applied to our 21 nail damage, multiplying it by 1.5, taking us to 32 after rounding. And from here we apply our Abyssal Bloom boost, but this boost isn't applied to our starting 21 damage, instead it's applied straight to our strength enhanced 32 damage. And as you can see by the table, this results in some incredibly high damage increases, especially when the Stage 3 1.5x multiplier is applied. At Stage 3 with 8 masks lost, we're hitting for 266% of base, And adding in Unbreakable Heart as well, this goes up to 62 damage, almost 300% more than base. It's interesting that this charm essentially makes Unbreakable Health a pseudo damage multiplier. Although it's generally outclassed by strength, it still manages to increase our nail damage by 4 to 6, depending on if we have strength equipped, as well as offer its usual health bonus. Aside from Unbreakable Strength and Heart, it also has a few other good synergies. The more obvious one is Fury of the Fallen, both charms sharing similar themes. In this case, however, the 1.75 times damage multiplier from Fury stacks additively with Abyssal Bloom. So, say we had Fury of the Fallen, Unbreakable Strength and Abyssal Bloom, and we're on one mask. It would look a bit like this. We take our 21 base damage and multiply it by 1.5 times for Unbreakable Strength, leaving us with 32 after rounding. We then add the bonus from Fury of the Fallen, 0.75, with our Abyssal Bloom boost, and finally we add 1 for our base damage. So in this case, our Bloom bonus is 0.0625 times 8, 8 being our missing masks, which is 0.5. We then multiply this by 1.5 because of our stage 3 multiplier, and we get the number 0.75. Together with the 1.75 of Fury, we get 2.5. Finally, we complete the equation by multiplying our 32 nail damage by 2.5 and get 80 as our final nail damage. And of course, since Bloom is buffing our nail damage, Quick Slash and Mark of Purity are going to be a no-brainer here to get our attacks out faster and multiply our DPS, although by this stage you'll be getting pretty tight for notches. Sharp Shadow and Journey's Blessing are also going to be good here, but there's a whole story behind why that's the case, which I'll save for the special interaction segment. There is also an argument to be made for Sprint Master and Dash Master. As we've spoken about on previous episodes, these two charms have a special interaction that boosts move speed by 39%. This is further boosted by another 20% when at stage 3 of Bloom buff, boosting move speed to a crazy 13.7 or 65% faster than base. This is fun to mess around with, but it isn't something I'd exactly call powerful. You might note I left out range boosting charms here, and there's a reason for that. Nail-based builds certainly benefit from charms like Long Nail or Mark of Pride, however, once you hit stage 3 and are using the Tendril attack, the range increases from these charms no longer have any effect on the Shadeform attacks, which now have twice the range as Long Nail and Mark of Pride combined anyway. I can see the argument that range boosts could still be useful for combat before you hit stage 3, but I'll leave it up to you to decide if it's worth it or not. Moving on to charms that have bad synergies, we get to Grubberfly's Allergy. This charm promotes the polar opposite style of gameplay. On one hand, Grubberfly's Allergy only really gives you a benefit when you have full health, while Bloom on the other hand wants you to be low for more benefit. It even disables the special interaction with Fury of the Fallen, no longer letting Grubberfly projectiles reactivate at one mask. So you're probably asking yourself, what is the biggest DPS build you can do with this charm? Well, with Strength, Fury of the Fallen, Abyssal Bloom and Mark of Purity, you'll be reaching 376 damage per second, once Purity is ramped up of course. Or for a more reliable build, replace Mark of Purity with Quick Slash. This won't require any ramping up and will still reach a respectable 285 damage per second. Despite Purity being part of the highest DPS build, Mark of Purity's negative 20% nail damage is applied multiplicatively in the same way Unbreakable Strength's positive bonus was. This means in reality, Purity is applying more than a 20% damage debuff, starting from around 22% less nail damage and peaking at 27% less nail damage at 5 masks lost and 8 masks lost with the stage 3 buff. But if you're more into nail arts than the Rapid Strike's Purity allows, Abyssal Bloom has got your back, because it boosts nail art damage as well. At one mask, each nail art will deal 75% more damage, taking Great Slash and Dash Slash to 91 damage, and Cyclone Slash to 276 damage over 6 hits. Add in Unbreakable Heart's 2 extra masks, and this will increase to 92 to 94% more damage. And if we take this to the extreme, with Bloom, Journey's Blessing and Fury of the Fallen, we'll be heading for a whopping 188.46 more damage, getting us to 150 damage for Great Slash and Dash Slash, and 450 damage, that's 75 per hit for Cyclone Slash. Just one thing to keep in mind, the stage 3 Bloom buff does not increase the range of nail arts, and while they do have a unique animation, the actual hitboxes don't change. One thing we haven't really touched on is just how many notches Bloom costs. 5 is the highest notch cost in the game of any real charm, King Soul excluded. So what kind of value are we getting for this big investment? Okay, for starters, if you have full health, obviously you're using 5 notches for almost no benefit. So let's skip over this until you at least have the stage 2 buff and 5 masks missing. So now we're getting 33% extra damage, 10% move speed and some dash cooldown. If we take Sprint Master, 20% move speed is worth 1 notch, so that's half a notch worth of value. Percent damage is also pretty easy. Using Unbreakable Strength as a template, we can see 16.66% damage is worth 1 notch, meaning we're getting 2 notches worth of damage, taking us up to a total of 2.5 notches of value. Halfway there. Dash Master is worth 33% cooldown and costs 2 notches. So halve that and we get 1 notch for every 16.5% cooldown. We are getting 10 currently, so let's say 2/3 of a notch. Shade Cloak cooldown is worth at least the same again, probably a bit more, so let's call it 1.5 notches of value all up. That takes our total to 4 notches of value. We're still down a notch, but taking a few more hits of damage for more bonus damage, and we'll be getting our money's worth. Now let's pretend we've finally hit 1 mask. How are we looking now? Well, now we've hit a bonus 75% damage. That's instantly worth 4.5 notches. Great start. Our speed and cooldown bonuses have all doubled, so we'll just double the notch value to get 1 notch worth of move speed and 3 notches of dash cooldown. That takes our total notch value to 8.5. But something else has happened. We are now in shade form and our attacks have 75% more range. And there are ways to spend notches to gain range, so that means we can give these a value as well. The most notch efficient range charm is Mark of Pride, giving 8.33% range per notch. So, by that logic, 75% range would be worth around 9 notches, bringing our total notch value to 17.5. That's a crazy value for just 5 notches, and keep in mind, this is just the base charm. It can be even better if we use synergies and other beneficial charms. Sure, some of this is stuff you probably don't really want, such as move speed or maybe even dash cooldown, but even if we take these away, you're still getting far more than 5 notches worth of value. Being a 5 notch cost charm means it's also a great candidate for overcharming, potentially giving an extra 4 notches. But unfortunately, it's not so effective when fighting Radiant bosses, as you'll never get a chance to be on 1 mask or get any kind of bonus, due to them killing you in 1 shot. Another small detail regarding Abyssal Bloom is normally when the knights at 1 mask, they'll appear weakened, changing their standing animation. With Bloom equipped, however, they'll maintain their normal posture even at 1 mask. Abyssal Bloom Special Interactions. When combining Abyssal Bloom and Sharp Shadow, damage per missing mask will increase from 6.25% to 7.5%. At 1 mask, this works out to a bonus 3 damage, or 4 damage with Unbreakable Heart, and otherwise will be giving around 1 to 2 extra damage throughout various levels of health. Additionally, Sharp Shadow receives double bonus damage from Bloom. Whatever bonus damage you're currently getting on your nail, even if it's been multiplied by 1.5 from the stage 3 buff, you'll be getting double that on your Sharp Shadow. This can make Sharp Shadow hit incredibly hard with the right setup, anywhere from the high 60s to mid 70s in damage. And if you add in Dash Master as well, which multiplies Sharp Shadow damage by 1.5 times nail damage, it can get even higher. The math on this is a bit weird, but in most cases, Dash Master adds even more damage than it says on the label, usually around 53 to 58%, letting you deal up to 118 damage per Sharp Shadow in the right circumstances. And on top of that, don't forget you'll be getting the 10 to 20% dash cooldown reduction from Bloom. When combining Abyssal Bloom with Joni's Blessing, the stage 3 buff will be active at all times. This means even at full health, you'll receive the 75% extra range, 20% dash and shade cloak cooldown, and 20% speed boost. Additionally, all the bonus damage received from Bloom will always be multiplied by 1.5, giving a smoother damage curve as you lose masks, instead of a hard spike at the end. Additionally, since Joni's Blessing boosts your masks by 40%, you'll be getting an extra 4 masks, which can, in turn, be converted to more damage by Bloom. These 4 extra masks will net you around 38% more damage by the time you hit your last mask, hitting for 45 damage per strike without any other charms, or 51 damage with Unbreakable Heart equipped as well. Overall, this combination, with Unbreakable Strength or Sharp Shadow, was by far my favourite way to use Abyssal Bloom. It offered a huge health pool, 16 masks with Heart equipped, a permanent 75% range boost, and great nail damage to boot, which didn't rely on having only 1 mask. Not to mention having all your soul focused on spells, due to healing not being an option. This quickly became one of my favourite builds in the entire game for fighting individual bosses. When combining Abyssal Bloom with Glowing Womb, Hatchling impact damage will be doubled when at the stage 3 buff, going from 9 to 18 damage. The bonus 5 damage granted by Fury of the Fallen while at 1 mask will also be doubled to 10, for a total of 28 damage per hatchling. The Joni's Blessing special interaction also works with this, granting double hatchling damage at all times. However, you'll still need to get down to 1 mask to get the full 28 damage from Fury of the Fallen. Just a note, however, at the time of recording, adding in Defender's Crest or King's Honor will disable this bonus impact damage, including any extra damage from Fury of the Fallen. And that's all 5 Pale Court charms done and dusted. Thanks again to the Pale Court creators for making our wait for Silksong and Crowswarm just that much more bearable. And remember, I'll be doing a similar deep dive on both of these games once they're out. If you're one of the few souls who are still here, why not check out one of my other videos? And hey, might as well subscribe while you're at it, right? Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.